Yeah, this build slaps. It's a slapper. What it is, what I do, Gorilla Crew, it's your boy Rilla here, and today I'm bringing you guys my Necro Blood Mist build that just did what you just saw at the video, at the beginning of the video, and it goes crazy. So let's just get right into it. All right, guys, let's dive into the build of my Blood Mist slash Infinimist slash Shadow Mist, whatever you want to call it, Necromancer. It helped me get to World Tier 4 pretty easily when I was around level 55, 56. So starting off, Reap is always important. You love Reap, you get your Reap on. The reason Reap is so important is obviously because you get a corpse. Corpse help you initiate all the boom boom pals with corpse explosions, corpse tentacles, and everything else. So you start off there. You actually don't need a core skill whatsoever. Yeah, you could go Blight. Yeah, you could go Silver. In the current build I have now, where I'm around level 69, I do have a point in Silver and a point in Enhanced Silver because I got the unique boots as well. So I figured, well, if I have these, I might as well use it, but you actually don't need anything. So we're really gonna get 3 points in Hued Flesh here just to get out of here, to get to the meat and potatoes or corpse skills. Now, you notice I got a lot of, I'm doing this part of the video because I didn't like the first version I did. And I've played since then. So a lot of these extra points I have, just ignore those because those are just coming from some of the insane loot I found up here in World Tier 4, almost over 70 now. But neither here nor there. When I got here, I was level 55, 56. Anyway, you put 5 points into Blood Mist. Just because Blood Mist is a key, makes it invulnerable. You kind of cheat the game because you're constantly spamming Blood Mist via some of the other abilities you have in the kit to always have it off cooldown about 4 to 5 seconds. So you spam this, blow up all the corpses. You go Enhanced Blood Mist automatically. Doesn't really matter, but you need to go here just to get here. This is amazing. Ghastly Blood Mist helps us drop a corpse every second that we're blood misting. So that's really good because we're constantly either blowing those corpses up or turning them into corpse tendrils. Corpse explosion is just it. That's what the build is based on. I mean, it does pretty much 12,000 damage because I have 12 points into it. Great loot. I'll show you the loot here in a second. Corpse explosion, radius is increased. That's pretty good. More stuff in it, bigger area, does more damage. Then we go into a blighted corpse explosion because we want our corpse explosions to be darkness skills because that's what we're doing. We're buffing shadow and darkness damage. So now corpse explosions are darkness skills and they leave around the miasma that does 10,000 damage or 9,000 damage over 6 seconds, which is going to have a ton of multipliers, so it's going to do even more. Next, we go into the Grim Harvest. Just kind of got to get here to get this. This is constantly up. Fueled by Death is constantly up. Now, as you're leveling, you probably won't need this as much, but as the build comes together, I say around like level 30, 35 into the 40 area, this will be great because this will be up 24/7 with the new hearts that we have on our gear to make it where we're just walking by courses. They detonate, and that means this is always up. So this buff pretty much is up constantly. It doesn't stack, so you have that extra 9% just for existing near corpses. Next important on the skill end, Decrepify. If you get the hard to auto cast Decrepify, that's great. But the reason we want Decrepify to actually pick the skill is because we get this. So Enhanced Decrepify, when they're affected with Decrepify, they could get stunned, 10% chance for 2 seconds. That's cool. We'll go into why that's cool. And also Abhorrent Decrepify, because now this helps decrease our cooldowns, which is really important to constantly have Blood Mist up at all times. Since we're going to always be decrepifying stuff, we might as well get an extra 12% on cursed enemies. And then since we're all going to be close to stuff, doing Blood Mist into hordes, into everything else, we might as well get some close damage as well. And we take a little less damage, so that's great for us as well. The next thing, most important, to get the shadow stuff going. Now I'm playing Corpse Tendril. Corpse Tendril is an MVP because Corpse Tendril applies our vulnerable. Corpse Tendril does everything, so we get 1 point in Corpse Tendril. I've seen some people have 2. I don't really need it. I mean, the little damage it does isn't that important. We're just doing it to get enhanced Corpse Tendril so we can get the pulls and the slows. And then the most important, vulnerable Corpse Tendril. Even though vulnerability got the damage got nerfed a little bit, it's still great to do it because it's still its own damage pool and we want to dive into it to do as much damage as possible. We definitely want that. Then we're going to the shadow skills, which gives us all a lot of our damage. This is some movement speed with Reaper's Pursuit. Gloom, huge because Gloom is stackable. So it stacks up to 3 times. So that's 6%. Stacked 3 times is now 18%. So that's great extra damage that we get. And then we will always have it up because when enemies are damaged by darkness skills, they take an extra 6% shadow damage. Well, they're standing in a poison cloud, so they're constantly getting damaged per second. Next, we'll go into Terra because Terra makes us do an extra 12% on all our bonus, an extra 12% bonus damage to enemies who are slowed. They slow from Decrepify, and 12% bonus to enemies who are stunned or immobilized. Decrepify also provides us with the ability to possibly stun. And we, whenever we do Corpse Tendril, pulls them into the crowd. With that, they can get stunned. So we're getting pretty much an extra 24% damage here, and it is stackable. So as they stand in the poison cloud or the miasma pool, it's constantly damaging them. This is constantly having an opportunity to proc, so the damage just keeps scaling the longer they're alive inside of it. Here's why I think it's kind of good for pushing, because when you pull the big mobs with live elites with a lot of HP, you're fine, because the longer they're in it, the more damage they're taking, the more opportunities you are to proc a lot of your passes that help you scale even more damage. Crippling Darkness is cool. You could put an extra point here to try to get the stun off. I feel like we just have enough potential stun things going off that this is just kind of overkill. We do also need a little bit of survivability, so we get the Carapace. We're constantly popping corpses by just walking there, blood missing through them, because we do have the aspect for that. So this is we're going to have Fortify up a lot more than what you would normally think. Also, our other skill that we're going to pop a lot is Bone Storm. The reason we like Bone Storm so much is because we get damage reduction on it, and it increases our crit chance. So that's really good to, specking the crit damage, crit chance more often. So this is an extra 20% on top of that. And if you get the aspect, which you do have, which now turns this damage into shadow damage, which is even better because it scales off of certain passes that we have, such as this. Shadow damage affects enemies with Shadow Blight for 2 seconds. You and your minions, pretty much, because all our minions got sacrificed. Oh, I forgot about this. Speaking of which, this is a no minion build, so we do sacrifice all of our minions. So we have standalone for the 18% DR, and then we also have Memento Mori for the extra buff that we get for that off the sacrifices on those minions that we sacrificed. And then we go into Shadow Blight. So we're doing an extra 10% damage every 10th time an enemy receives shadow damage from you. They are afflicted with Shadow Blight. They take an additional 1,200 to 1,500 damage. So we're going to be inflicting that constantly with them standing in the pools, with us sending out the Sever, like I said, in the build I have with the boots I have. So that's going to be a thing that's constantly up, and we should also constantly be taking advantage of. So let's look at the aspects that we have. So our aspects are pretty simple. I've had the same aspects. I've just gotten better gear now that I'm in World Tour 4 and I've been able to farm. So our aspects pretty much go: Blood Mist triggers Corpse Explosion. This is really good just to get things initiated. Blood Mist can be your initiator. You can also Reap as your initiator. And since I have the Sever unique boots, I can also send Sever in as an initiator, because anytime I get a lucky hit chance, I have a chance to drop a corpse. That's off of anything I do. That off of Corpse Explosion, that's off of Bone Storm, it's also off of Sever. So these are your initiators. So this is must have for the build, in my opinion. Not as much must have, but still must have, because it also gives us cooldown reduction. Obviously you got Disobedience, even though it was nerfed, it's still really good. We were lucky enough that as soon as we got to Warfare 3, we got our Corpse Explosion gloves, which pretty much just turn our Corpse Explosion corpses into running around kamikaze bombers. That really just helps with us being more mobile and not having to necessarily stand too close to the corpses to make them blow up. Once again, like I said, I got some crazy rolls up here. These pants are ridiculous. I'm never probably replacing these pants. +4 Corpse Explosion, +4 Blood Mist. These pants are crazy. Anywho, then we got the Bone Storm. So we get a shield, 5% shield based off our life. Our life is still kind of trash, but still a shield. We'll take it with all the DR that we have going on. And then we have a shield on top of it. It's pretty good. Like I said, I have the unique Sever boots. I didn't really have a good pair of boots, but it doesn't really matter what you put on your boots per se. I want the chill boots. I haven't found them yet, just so I can see how chill works with it. And with one of our hearts, the more CCs that we have on people, the more damage we can do. Chill is considered a CC, but we haven't found those boots yet. So we're just using these Sever boots. You can use any boots. The aspects that I choose to use on those boots are the aspect where you become unstoppable. So we're a little bit faster with the clearing, but these are just random boots. on our hand. I'm using a scythe just for the life. You could use, I was looking for a dagger, really couldn't find a good dagger just to stack close damage because we are close to stuff, but we're just using this scythe right now. We're using a Shadow Blight. Key passive damage to enemies is increased your next Shadow Blight damage within 10 seconds, extra 30%, stacking up to 5 times. This is going to be going off constantly because the longer they're alive standing in miasma, the more procs of this we get, up to 5. So that's really good for us. On our offhand, because you can use a two-handed weapon, but I find with this version you want an offhand because you need an extra aspect that's really good for the build. We'll cover that in a second. Obviously, we're using corpse tendrils. Corpse tendrils are really good. This is just a codex corpse tendrils, by the way. I haven't found a good corpse tendrils the entire playthrough so far, and I'm level 69 World Tier 4, still on a standard codex corpse tendril, and we're just walking through the content, as you can see through the playthrough, at a much lower level than we were at now, and I'm still walking through it with this corpse tendril. Anywho, gain 10% increased crit chance. So when you have this going with Bone Storm, that's an extra 30% crit chance, and our base crit chance is only 22, so we're at 55% crit chance with this. Whenever you hit them with a corpse tendril for 6 seconds, corpse tendrils are constantly going off once again. You do a 20% bonus crit damage, so we have that as well. Our crit damage is going at a steady crit damage 115. So this is really good. This puts us up over 130, and it can just keep going. Like I said, my gear isn't really even optimized. I've just been kind of taking what I'm getting. I really haven't found the best stuff. You see a lot of my damaging aspects are like shadow or dot or crowd, but I don't really have as much vulnerable and crit damage because shadow damage, you get like a 65% buff in the patch that they passed out. So I kind of lean into more of that than versus looking for a lot of crit damage and vulnerable damage. Anyway, this is a really important aspect for the build as well, just as important as corpse tendrils in my opinion. Bone Storm. So this is how you turn your Bone Storm and Blood Wave, if you mess with that, into darkness skills, which then tap into all the scaling that we're doing on our darkness and shadow skills. All right. So they're during the darkness skills, they deal shadow damage, and with Bone Storm, enemies damaged by Bone Storm take 926 shadow damage over 2 seconds. So that is triggering our Shadow Blight and any other of our shadow things that scale. So makes Bone Storm do upwards of 10, 11, 12, 15,000 damage off of them just getting hit by a Bone Storm spinning, and it's around you. And Bone Storm lasts a pretty long time. I even tried the build where you consume corpses to make Bone Storm last. It's kind of going against this build and what it does, because what it's supposed to do is make corpse explode and do damage. But if I'm eating up all the corpses to make my Bone Storm last longer, it just doesn't work as well because Bone Storm damage doesn't come anywhere near as close as corpse explosion damage. So I just run this, but it works out really good just as an extra way to do damage, extra way to scale damage, and it counts towards the 10 hits that you need with Shadow Blight to get the big damage payoff from the passive. This is a really important thing. I want to get rid of it, but I also want to keep it, and this is also why we don't run a two-handed weapon. Blood Mist leaves trails that last 4 seconds and 500 shadow damage per second, which is really good because that's counting our Shadow Blight, getting that passive off and getting that big damage off more often. And your movement isn't reduced by all Blood Mist. So Blood Mist does give you a 20%, I think it's 20% movement penalty, but this counters that. So now whatever your base movement is, you now apply while you're Blood Misting so you can clear faster. Hence why we can't run a two-handed weapon, which will be stronger because we need a spot to put this aspect. Now, I can try a build without it, but I'm pretty sure this is a must-have with this build to give you a faster clearing speed. Next up, I found this amazing amulet not too long ago. After I shot the first portion of the video, so a lot of footage you're watching is from when I first got to World Tier 4 to now. I've been in World Tier 4 for about 7-8 hours, and I've just been playing. Probably not that long, probably like 6. And I've just been playing, so this is just some of the stuff we got. But anyway, it's got 20% movement speed. It's kind of wild. Plus, not to mention, gives us an extra stack of Terra, and then it's got 2+3s on corpse and what was that, macabre skills, and that's why my corpse explosions is 12 and my blood mist is also 12. Ridiculous. Anyway, this is really good. You gotta put it on amulet. You do 170% increased damage for 6 seconds after Shadow Blight's key passive damage damages enemies 10 times. This is great because we have all these other little things procking and hitting. Hence why the Sever works so good, because Sever puts down a little puddle that does shadow damage to them. So we have all these other things procking and hitting. So we're going to get this a lot of the time, even in bossing and so on and so forth. And it's going to just make us constantly do even more damage. So we're going to have all these different percent-based multipliers on top of 200, 300, 500, 900, or 1,000 points of damage. I mean, if you just imagine a corpse explosion with a lot of these multipliers that we're getting, it's already doing close to 12,000 damage. When you start adding 100% damage here, 100% damage there, corpse explosion is going to be hitting for just gigantic numbers. So build's working out really good. As I said, we just got to World Tier 4 yesterday. We were around like level 55, 54. We did the capstone dungeon, no problems. But yeah, so this is, I just want to show you guys. My Paragon board is coming along so far. We're just getting started on it. I've been rolling. I have the control aspect on my starter board just because that was the first aspect I got, and I've been leveling it, and I'm gonna move out. I recently got the darkness glyph. It took me forever to find one of these. I don't understand. The game just didn't want to give it to me. But now we're leveling the darkness gets into our second board. But our second board is where all the meat and potatoes really hit, because that's the wither board, and this is great. So the wither board is amazing just because your shadow damage overtime effects have a 5% chance to deal with 50% bonus damage each time they deal damage. This chance is increased by 1%, and the bonus damage is increased by 2.5% for each 50 willpower you have. This is great. This just helps scale with our dot. Not to mention the wither board itself has so many different shadow nodes that we're picking up to just give us our shadow damage and a nice little power spike really, really early, really, really fast into the game, combined with darkness, which I haven't even filled out my board because we just got here and I haven't done all my renown. So it's just a lot of extra damage and extra things coming into play. And then we're going into our second board, third board, which is Flesh Eater, which now will have a constant 40% increased damage for 6 seconds. This is going to be going off constantly. There's no cooldown. So as you do what you do, and as the things happen like they happen, you just walk by corpses and they get ate up. You just throw out a silver and they drop corpses. Your lucky hit chance while you're fighting a boss while doing Bone Storm and the corpses on him, and he's just spawning corpses constantly under his feet, and you're blowing them up manually with corpse explosion. This is Flesh Eater is going to continue to just be going off the entire time. I cannot wait to get this note. But what is going over a build before we end without saying the most important and newly broken thing in this game that just makes everything work? Also learned you can only have one wrathful heart on one piece of equipment. Like I can't have a build with 2 of these, so I want to try something. Anyway, so this is what just takes this to me to be able to get to World Tier 4 so quickly, and I'm thriving here when everything is I'm level 69 now, so everything I'm fighting is at least 10 levels higher than me, just from me doing different nightmares. The heart. So we have a wrathful heart in our amulet. Your damage over time effects are increased by 41% for each different crowd control effect. Unstoppable monsters and staggered beasts instead take 131% increased damage from your damage over time effect. So this is really good for boss fighting, because bosses, whenever you stun them, this is really good because they have everything, so everything pulls them to it. And also when you're using your corpse syndrome and stuff like that, once you've hit them with multiples, because you're walking by corpses setting them off because of the other heart we have, they become unstoppable. So now they're taking more damage anywhere as they're coming towards you. But the reason I want the chill boots is because what it says on the first part is your damage over time effects are increased by 41% for each different crowd control effect. Chilled is a crowd control effect. Right now we do stun. We can do fear because of our gloves. I just realized that earlier today. We can do fear, but fear they run away, so that's a little tricky. And we can also do when we do corpse explosion, when we do decrepify, it slows them. So we can potentially have 4 crowd control effects going off simultaneously, which this times 4 is close to 170% extra damage we could possibly be doing on all of our dots. This is really good. This really carries the build. If you get this heart, at first I was going Bone Spear. We got this heart and I immediately switched to this. Nothing against Bone Spear. Bone Spear is still an amazing build, but this was just the meat and potatoes for me. Obviously, we love Decrepify. I tried to play without Decrepify and manually cast Decrepify, but now that I have the World Tier 3 version of this heart, where at least one enemy near me, I have a automatic Decrepify for 16 seconds, it's kind of hard for me to play without playing this. And then lastly, that's our Brutal Heart, and lastly, our Vicious Heart is, I hate the scrolling down part of this. Walking near corpses automatically activates a corpse skill every second, dealing 25% reduced damage. So you have to keep that in mind in boss fighting. All the corpses that automatically go off do less damage. So you have to keep in mind, you do have to get a little bit away from a boss a little bit to manually set off your corpses for maximum damage. But if you don't mind a fight taking a little bit longer, you will be fighting him and he's taking 25% less damage when you're on top of him, reaping or whatever. So a lot of times when I do boss fights, I'll do a blood mist in, I'll hit a reap and I'll step back, and then I'll start manually detonating the corpses to do maximum damage because I want him to die as fast as possible. This is a really good heart. It's a really common heart. I haven't really had a problem finding it. I have one that's a 20%. I just haven't put it in because as you can clearly see, this ring is not World Tier 4. It's still a sacred ring. We're only level 70. Both of my rings are still sacred. I just can't find aspects of either one of these. Like I found one of each of these and I cannot find another. I found 9 other bone storm and I found 9 other blood mist leaf trails. I don't know why. I found everything else in triplets, but I can't find this. But yeah. So this is my first ever Diablo guide. This is the build that got me to World Tier 4. Super easy, super early. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any tips, criticism, anything constructive that you want me to talk about or cover, I'll do another one as we continue to make the build better. It's fully not astraled out yet. And there's a lot of things, there's a lot of spaces I can do better in and make it better. And I just wanted to bring you guys to it. So thanks for checking it out. If you like it, leave a like down below, leave a comment of a build you would like to see. Another class I'm on level is Sorcerer, probably starting next week. And so I'll bring you guys a video on that as well and an update video on my Necro.